Terrifier 4 might be the craziest one yet. We have had news that Terrifier 4 will take place around New Year's Eve, meaning that the next installment could take place only days after Terrifier 3. Apparently this movie is going to be the most ambitious and emotional one yet. He also went on to say that this script has been the most challenging one so far. We recently heard confirmation that the Terrifier 4 script is almost finished, and pre-production is hoping to get started pretty soon. But what's really interesting is how he's talking about this movie. We've heard him say things like there's a lot riding on this one, both emotionally and creatively, which is interesting because it makes it sound like this film is going to be a little bit more than, you know, the gore fests that we've been getting. Terrifier 4 is also apparently going to be the moment we get Art the Clown's origin story. And while this is all going on, we are building to what is classed as an epic finale, which is another interesting thing to say because does this mean that we're coming towards the end of this Terrifier timeline? Either way, it makes me so much more excited for this movie and interested to see what we're going to actually get. They really have just gotten bigger with every single sequel, but now it sounds like Damien Leone is actually trying to make the franchise feel mythological and disturbing too. Rather than this film sounding like a proper cult slasher, it's kind of now sounding like a bit of like a horror fantasy almost. The original was just crazy for the fact that it was the first time we were seeing that stuff really. Then Terrifier 2 definitely advanced by explaining more on Sienna, and when all of that happened it felt like the franchise had taken a step into, you know, making something a bit more proper, and as well as the gore that we of course get with every Terrifier film, it started to feel like there was more to this. And then Terrifier 3 came, and I mean that just pushed everything. The kills, the scale of the film. It feels like Terrifier 4 now is going to try and bring all of those elements together, which of course is a risky thing to do. I think if anyone's going to be able to do it, it will be Damien Leone that can pull that off as a Terrifier film. But I am really curious as to how they are going to handle Art's backstory, because that is definitely a dangerous thing to explain in this horror franchise, because he is not a villain that you want to over-explain. Don't get me wrong, I'm so interested into how Art the Clown came about, but it's one of them things where it's almost maybe better left up to the imagination, depending on what answer we get and how far they go into that. We have been told that the approach to this will be in a more abstract way, which I think sounds about the right way to go about that. Like, I am not a writer or anything like that, so I don't exactly know what that means, but abstract seems better to me because it means that some things still might not necessarily make sense. I feel like after Terrifier 3, I'm pretty happy with the idea that Art the Clown is this supernatural force that obviously kind of tries to blend in as human at times. He also has that kind of like, the humour to him is very unique, and I don't think you'd get away with that in a lot of other horrors, but because it's Art the Clown, I feel like it now is him, so those scenes where he is a bit funny, I think it works, and it definitely does not make me any less scared of him. One thing that's definitely blown my mind is just how big this franchise has gone. Like, we're going on to a Terrifier 4 now, and the production just gets better and better. The films get wilder and wilder, whilst also we are, you know, it does feel like this storyline now that I'm invested on seeing how it ends. You know, a Terrifier release is now a huge horror event where everyone, whether you like it or hate it, you want to know how the film's gone. You know, Terrifier 3 made good money at the box office, and Art the Clown is without a doubt a modern horror icon. One thing I love as well is that the crew of this film and the people that have been working on it from day one, they have never tried to appeal to mainstream audiences or shied away from certain scenes, ideas. They want to do it their way or it doesn't happen, and I really appreciate that. And I think even if the films aren't to your taste, I think just that idea of filmmaking is a really authentic and fresh take where we know that start to finish of these films, it's exactly what they wanted to do. And correct me if I'm wrong, because this is obviously opinionated, but I don't feel that there's a modern day horror franchise that isn't, I'm not saying is better, but feels as unpredictable as this, where you really sit in that seat and you know you're going to be getting something that I know it's all gore and everything like that, but it feels different every time and it ramps up, where I think some franchises modern day have struggled with that. So yeah, Terrifier 4 honestly sounds like it could end up being the biggest movie in the franchise by far, could also possibly be the most successful movie in the franchise, and the pressure absolutely is on if this is the big emotional conclusion to this story. It might not be the last time we ever see Art the Clown, but this kind of storyline, plot that we've been working on now over these few films, it needs to end in a good way. So yeah, the pressure is definitely on if this is the conclusion to that. The backstory, of course, as well, is going to be a massive part of the film. It's going to be a massive part of Art's character as well, because it's the only, lore that kind of exists on him, so, or will exist on him, so it's important that that's kept right, so Art the Clown doesn't feel different from films going forward. But yeah, let me know down in the comments below what you think of Terrifier 4. Are you excited for it? Did you kind of check out at Terrifier 3? It was an intense one for sure, but I'm very interested and I'm always excited when there's a development with Terrifier. So yeah, let me know down in the comments below what you guys think.